like us, follow us, and be the first to know. This is the Common Show.
Yes, hello, Edo people and Nigerians across the world. Top of the moment to you. This is the Comrade Show, and of course, it's the special segment we call the Comrade and Friends. Today is really special because we are having a live media chat with the Honorable Commissioner of Education in Edo State. Today, we want to know what is going on in education and what this government of Governor Obaseki has done, what they plan to do, and where they want to take Edo State to. We have a chance to ask questions. We have live audience on Facebook and YouTube. Please, if you are joining us, we appeal to you to share the link. We want to get everybody together. Those questions you have out there, come right here. We're going to open the phone at some point for people to call in. You can equally send your questions through the live chat on Facebook, YouTube, and all other social media platforms. Of course, we have people on ground to be sending us these questions, and we'll be picking some ourselves. My name is Comrade Lante Oriahi, and as usual, I have the Musketeers of the Comrade Show with me to anchor this program. Without much ado, let me quickly introduce to you Comrade Pharmacist Austin Iremiran. He's right in the house. Comrade Austin, please.
Thank you so much, Comrade Lante Oriahi. It's always a pleasure to be in your company. To our viewers, I say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are in the globe. Today, the 13th of February 2022, we are here again with your darling program, the Sunday Tonic. Remember the deal. Don't touch that die. Make sure you share. You are welcome. God bless you now, cacabolically.
Thank you very much, Comrade Pharmacist Austin Iremiran. I equally have in the house Comrade Dr. Tony Agbanserafe. Dr. Agbanserafe, you're welcome to the program, my brother. We can't get your audio, bro.
Thank you very much, Comrade Lante Oriahi, and my brother, Comrade Pharmacist Iremiran. Viewers, I want to welcome you all to today's program. A very special one indeed. We have a special guest with us here in the studio. Looking forward to, having this run with you all today. You are all welcome. Happy Sunday, everyone.
Thank you very much. Yes, we're going to go straight into the program. But let me quickly remind us, before I bring on the Honorable Commissioner for Education, let me quickly remind us, don't forget, those who are joining us, tomorrow is a special day in itself. And tomorrow is a day that we have set aside to celebrate Eden, Queen Eden. And so tomorrow especially is Queen Eden's Day. While we, go through this section with the Commissioner for Education, after this session, we're going to talk a bit more about Eden. On that note, let me welcome, with all pleasure, the Honorable Commissioner for Education, Edo State, and that is talking of Joan Oviawe, PhD. You are welcome to the program, madam. Honorable, back to you. You are welcome, man.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It's exciting to be here. I look forward to a conversation education in Edo State. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so very much. Yes, audience, viewers, the Honorable Commissioner is joining us from Nigeria. And of course, we are not, it is not unexpected that every once in a while there may be glitches here and there, but stay with us. She's going to be here to complete the session with us. So don't just go away. Madam, so many people know about Commissioner Joan Oviawe. Can we really meet you? Who is Joan Oviawe? Can you hear me, ma'am?
Thank you. Well, my name is Joan Oviawe, as you already. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. So I said my name is Joan Oviawe. you already know, and I'm the Commissioner of Education. Before I became Commissioner of Education, I was the Executive Chairperson of the Edo State Universal Basic Education Board, which is the board in charge of basic education, which spans from up to junior secondary. However, when I was in Subeb, we went from, it was up to early childhood education up to primary 6. Proud to being the executive chairman of Subeb, I was also special advisor education. For joining public service, I was actually a diasporan. Now I guess I will be considered a return. And I lived in the United States, where I worked in academia, and I was also into development work. So my areas of expertise are education, gender-related issues, and development. And I have my work has taken me all over the world, and to gather experiences in different parts of the world: North America, Europe, Africa, Eurasia, which has helped me greatly in terms of trying to understand as well as implement His Excellency Governor Godwin Noyega's vision to reenact education in Edo State.
Thank you very much. I can say, ma'am, from what I'm hearing from you, you have a very intimidating resume. But I'm going to quickly pass this on to Dr. Tony Agbon to take it from there. Your question for Madam Dr. Agbon.
Thank you very much, Madam Commissioner. We are really happy to have you here. So I go straight to my question. Madam, you will agree with me that Edo Best has done quite a lot with primary education. But the question on the lips of so many is, what is the plan of Do Best to extend the same to the secondary and tertiary institution level?
2018, the Edo Basic Education Sector Transformation Edo Best was launched by Governor Obaseki. And after 3 years of reform work in the basic education subsector, it became very clear to government that the reform needed to be extended across the education sector so that all the investments made so far in the basic sector would not go to waste, because it doesn't make sense if the kids are having good education at the primary or basic level, and then they get to secondary, everything all of a sudden falls apart. So as a result of that, on June 28, 2021, His Excellency Governor Obaseki launched Edo Best 2.0. So Edo Best 2.0 is sector-wide from basic to tertiary, includes TVET. In Edo Best 1.0, we didn't do much with TVET. We also didn't do much with special education. And so for Edo Best 2.0, there are funds that serve as the framework or a roadmap, if you will, for our education reform work. So the first pillar is governance. And under governance, we have key objectives that I would like to meet. There are system strengthening. So God is really about the structure we have in place for decision making. If it normally takes the movement of 20 files to make one decision, how can we cut out all the redundancies and inefficiencies and make it just one file? Organizational development is innovation. Community engagement is key. So provide quality education is extremely expensive, and government cannot do it alone. And finally, technology. So we are moving towards automating a lot of our processes and procedures at the level of the Ministry of Education and also at the level of at the school level. The second pillar of Edo Best 2.0 has to do with innovative teaching. Here we want to focus on professional development for our teachers and educators. So under Edo Best 1.0, over 11,000 teachers were trained, but we are saying that even the faculty in our tertiary institutions need to also undergo professional development. All over the world where you have thriving, solid higher education, you find that faculty members are required to undergo training on pedagogy. So just because somebody has a PhD or a higher degree in their field of study does not necessarily mean how to teach or lecture. And that's why we say teaching is a pedagogy. Pedagogy simply means method. There is a method to impact knowledge on learners at various age grade. So under innovative teaching, again, it's all about professional development. It's all about instructions that we are using. And then the third pillar has to do with learning for skills. So when we hear learning for skills, we automatically think we're talking about skills acquisition. No, it goes beyond skills acquisition. We are simply saying that at whatever grade, by the time somebody has gone through our education system or their degree, and that is why in the non-tertiary subsector, we are finalizing our standards. So we want to be able to say very clearly and succinctly that when a child is going from primary 1 to primary 2, there are certain standards to be proficient in. And so before they are moved to primary 2, they have to clearly demonstrate proficiency. I give a quick example. It's now our target in Edo State that by the time any of our learners are moving from primary 1 to primary 2 in our public schools, they will know how to read and write. And right now, as I speak to you, CD3, ECCDE3, which would be the equivalent of KG3, who can read fluently. So we are already making progress in the area of learning poverty, which is eliminating illiteracy. The fourth has to do with, under this pillar, we are looking at amenities, we are looking at psychosocial support for our learners, and we are looking at co-activities. For psychosocial support at the university or tertiary level, we are now mandating, or government rather, is now mandating that as new students are coming to these institutions, signing advisors, they also have to assign them counselors and career counselors. When they come from the very beginning, they are getting the requisite support to not only help them make the right decision academically, but they psychologically, whatever support they need to thrive, we are also providing them. So in the school environment, His Excellency Governor Obaseki has given us marching orders that we have to bring us. Right now, a lot of our urban schools are concrete jungles, and we have been mandated to convert them to urban oases. And we are extending this also to our tertiary institution. I happen to have had an all-day workshop with our vice chancellors, Rex Provost. And I said to them, when we look at pictures of students in universities, on college campuses in the western part of the world, we are typically drawn to the environment. It's serene, it's green, it's beautiful. The buildings are well placed. And so we want to start moving in that direction. And for instance, all our tertiary institutions need to master plan. We can't just build haphazardly without any planning. Then the final pillar of Edobes 2.0 has to do with values. Initially, when I suggested values, the concern was you measure values. You even said that at the time. But I'm grateful. I'm glad that His Excellency felt that it was very important for us to include values. So when it comes to values, we are looking at organizational values. What kind of values do we want to project as the Ministry of Education? Right now, we are aiming at strengthening our service delivery, ensuring that we provide the right kind of services to the good people of a state. We are looking at interpersonal values. When educational system, what kind of person do we want them to be? At the basic education sector level, we always say is we are educating the hearts and the minds of the Edo child. And so we want to extend that same cross board. What are the Edo values that we want to bring back into our school system? You know, in Southern Africa, we have the concept of Ubuntu. We are. And so we want to use those values back into our school system. And this has become extremely important in light of what we are all seeing now with the old Yahoo, Yahoo, Yahoo Plus, Yahoo HK that is going on in our country and in our state. Unfortunately for all of us, right now, the most common mantra amongst our young people is that school na scam, school na scam. And so we as educators, in fact, all of us, we have work to do, because without really knowing it, I do believe we are facing an existential crisis as a people with the epidemic of get-rich-quick mentality that has become so pervasive amongst our young people. So these are the 5 pillars of S. We have started working. In first quarter of 2022, my focus as Commissioner of Education is really tackling senior secondary. If you would recall, last December, we had a case in one of our secondary schools. The students went on rampage, and it was not a very pleasant situation. And we visited the school, who went with my team. And for us, we saw it that rampaging was a symptom of a larger problem. I requested the statistics, the data of school. I was confounded to learn that in that school, you had over 200 students in one class. I mean, if we are going to treat these young people as less than, how do we expect them to behave in a proper way as good citizens? And so we've started the process of decongesting our senior secondary schools. There's a reason why many of our schools have become so overcrowded. I'm not going to get into all of that, but we are decongesting. We started recruitment of senior secondary school teachers. Recruitment have been done for primary school teachers, junior secondary. For senior secondary, we just closed the recruitment portal last week. And we've discovered that we are going to have to reopen the portal because of the low numbers of application for mathematics, English literature, and the sciences. Over 12,000 people applied. The bulk of the application are typically in subject areas like government, economics, civics, and religious studies. But we really, really want to put the sciences, the STEM courses on the front burner. Then infrastructure. Across the state, secondary schools have been neglected for decades. The state of the infrastructure is quite bad. This administration inherited an inventory, a very large inventory of very dilapidated schools. And we are doing what we can to put an infrastructure plan in place to help us to tackle this issue. Then technology. We are introducing technology into our senior secondary school to help us manage it better. We are moving now into a system where every student, every learner in our schools are going to have student identification number. We're also going to do a biometric of all our students. Beginning next week, about 100 staff of the Ministry of Education are going to be trained, and they are going to go out there to start capturing the biometric of our students. By doing this, it allows us to be able to keep track of our learners from one grade to from one school to the other. Right now, it's like a jungle out there, almost like a Bermuda Triangle where things go and they disappear. We don't have records, we can't keep track of things. And so when we are able to put this database together, which we are very confident that we will be able to do at very little cost to government and in a manner that is sustainable, we will be able to then follow our students. We'll be able to track them. And when a student is moving from one school to another, it will be very easy to migrate their records with them. All of this will be done electronically. We don't have to issue paper transfer certificates. Even the GSS3 exam, GSS3 certificate, we are now able to issue those electronically with a, what do they call it? The barcode. So anybody can scan that code with their phone, and we'll be able to know if the certificate is a legitimate one issued by the Ministry of Education in Edo State, or if it is a forged one. Exam malpractice is a major issue in our secondary schools. Currently, I was actually quite shocked to find out that from SS1 and SS2 and SS3, many of our students, both in public and private schools, they de-enroll to go and enroll in lecture centers. And then when it's time to write the WAEC, they go to miracle centers to write WAEC. And so for us, beginning this year, we put in very strict measures to say, for instance, no more external candidates. So principals of our public schools are not allowed to enroll anybody that is not a student of that school, that moved from SS2, was promoted from SS2 to SS3. Thankfully, we reached out to WAEC to find out what options there are, alternative options for the external candidates. And WAEC told us that they have a separate exam for external candidates, and that comes up, I think, August or October this year. So I'm saying all of this because oftentimes when government is trying to clean up the organ stables, you start getting a lot of misinformation out there by people with entrenched interests. It's very important to note that the exam malpractice cottage industry is a multi-million naira one, with a lot of people in the value chain benefiting from it. So we have taken very drastic steps at the ministry, at the level of starting with the Ministry of Education, to automate the clearance process. We have already told our school principals that we are going to be looking at key things in the data that they are going to submit to us. For example, if the total population of a rural school, the total population of students is about 42 from SS1 to SS3, and then we have 200 students writing WAEC, obviously something fishy is going on. And so we've told all our principals, whoever has collected money from external candidates should refund those monies, because on exam day, we are not only going to monitor, but from the data, the student data they send us, we are going to begin our analysis. And the sanctions for people who insist on perverting the system is going to be swift and it's going to be severe. We have to do this, otherwise we are, again, like I said, we are facing an existential crisis. Our students at the secondary school level are not learning. Everybody has been fed this diet of shortcuts. Everybody wants to do shortcuts, and we are trying to reset everyone's mindset to say that many of us are where we are today because we went through an education system that was disciplined, that was cultured, and that was emancipative.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. That was
Thank you.
a very, well analyzed response. Comrade Lamte, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, my brother. Honorable Commissioner, to be very honest, I want to say that I'm very impressed with the things you've analyzed. However, there is an issue I want to raise, which seriously bother on education. Um, Statistics show, I mean, this from a couple of years ago, that we have about 10 million out of school children in Nigeria. And the same statistics did show that we had at the time about 80,000 out of school children in Edo State. As a matter of fact, Edo State pride herself as the state with the least out of school children, particularly at the primary school level. Recently, we've had influx of people into Edo State, particularly from the northern part of Nigeria and all of that. And people can easily go to Edo State now and find so many children, moving around marketplace everywhere. During school hour, they are not in school. As a matter of fact, the Congress show we flagged up a program, called the Edo Zero Illiteracy Program, where we identify out of school children and we are helping many to get back to school right now, taking care of their fees and every other thing. Um, does this bother the state that now we have, increasing number of out of school children? And if it does, what is the Commissioner of, for Education doing to see that, Edo State has no child out of school?
Thank you, Comrade Lamte. That's an excellent question. Absolutely. It bothers the state government. It bothers me as Commissioner of Education to see the number of children roaming about. Yes, some of them are from outside our state. But we also have indigent children that are homeless and out of school. In fact, thankfully, the Ministry of Gender and Social Services, this is their primary, this is really under them. And so we are working together, both ministries, we are collaborating. In fact, coincidentally, just this past Wednesday, during the State Executive Council meeting, His Excellency Governor Obaseki had mandated that the two of us, myself and the Honorable Commissioner of Gender and Social Development, Barrister Marie Edeko, that we should go and look at there is a remand home for juvenile delinquents in Upper Sakba area, right after Ugbeku. And we need to go and take a look at that facility and see how government can quickly upgrade it to either a TVET skills acquisition center, or to provide additional facility to support the rehabilitation of the so-called street children. On our own, at the education level, at the Ministry of Education level, in fact, across the education sector, we are strengthening our collaboration with the community through the school-based management committees, otherwise known as SBMCs. In Subeb, they are much ahead because of the head start they've had with the Edo Best 1.0. So we are starting now to put in place the infrastructure to support better community engagement at the secondary level. The things that the so we have social mobilization officers at the basic school level. What they do, so each social mobilization officer goes through training. They go through a very extensive onboarding process, and then they are assigned between 10 to 15 schools, depending on the area. 10 to 15 schools to manage. So that means they interact on a daily basis with the communities that feed these schools. And in doing that, some of the data they gather when they visit each community is the number, how many students, how many school-age children did they find when they went visiting? What is the economic status of that community? Are there any government infrastructure or intervention in that community? Is there a primary health center? Because one of the things His Excellency wants to do now is to have interministerial linkages. So when a child is coming in at age 5, to enroll in our ECCD class, we should also be collecting data on their immunization history, so that such data, as well as their nutrition and all of those things, so that such data can be passed on to the Ministry of Health. And so for social mobilization, they are currently collecting this data, and going forward, we are going to work very closely with the Ministry of Gender and Social Development to figure out the right kind of intervention for these children. You know, it's not as easy. My experience when I was in suburb is that it's not as easy, it's not as simple as taking and putting them in school. They almost have to go through a resocialization process to break them into a structure, a sort of day-to-day routine, because having been on the streets, you know, their outlook, they are not used to routine anymore. They just do whatever they want. And so from the experience with a few of them, we realized that there needs to be a proper process in to reintegrate them back into the school system. So I end by saying that Mr. Governor is very, very keen on this, and we are also very keen to make it to find a solution. And I know also at the level of the Ministry of Gender and Social Services, they are also looking for a sizable place where they can build a hostel of sorts, a home, to support, facilitate a lot of these street children.
Over to you, Commodore, your question.
Thank you so much, Madam Honorable Commissioner for Education, Edo State. I haven't listened to you for the last 25 minutes. I am in no doubt that the right peg is right in the right hole. Thank you for that. I have a question, but just before the question, I want to make a suggestion. If you are already not doing that, I want to say that we can have all these laudable plans. I would advise that sometimes you do an unscheduled visit to these schools to see for yourself, so that you let even your staff not know so much about it. That will give you a good idea of how all these laudable things that you have is being implemented. Please put that into consideration. My question is on Edo Best. There is no gainsaying the obvious that the Governor Godwin Obaseki-led administration has done very well in that. But because we are on the street and we get information a lot from the street has asked me to ask. Edo Best is notable in all the big cities in Edo State, but the rural areas are suffering. Is that true? If not, what do you have to say about it?
You know, one of the successes of Edo Best is the fact that we were able to scale very quickly. There are 1,046 primary schools, public in Edo State. And as at the time I was living suburb, about 800, less than, I would say 182 primary schools were left to be onboarded onto the Edo Best program. And why was this? It was because these 182 schools had less than, the total number of students in those schools were less than 100. In many of these schools, population was like 32. That is, from KG to primary 6, they only have 32 students. And so we wanted to solve a bigger problem with those interior schools. And that bigger problem was, we found out that it was a serious waste of resources when you have 32 pupils in a school and you have 11 teachers. Because they are spread out from KG to primary 6, you still have to provide a teacher. So for the local government, it becomes a financial burden and a waste. So you are spending money paying primary school teachers' salary, and you are not really having any money to do development in your local government. And so we needed to find a solution, and that solution was to migrate those specific schools to what we call multi-grade teaching. In multi-grade teaching, for those lowly populated schools, it meant that instead of having 11 teachers teaching 32 pupils, you then have maybe 3 or 4, and they are still doing the work. And they had to be trained. Thankfully, I think everybody will be happy that just this January, the remaining teachers that are going to teach these 182 schools have been trained. And so they are going to start Edo Best. And the other thing people need to know also is that because we have a fairly large number of primary schools, we categorize our schools. So we have the demonstration schools. These are the schools with large population, with pupil population of from 500 to 1,000 per school. Then we have the intermediate schools. These are schools with pupil population of 200 to 499. And then we have the progressive schools. These are 100 and below. And it will interest everyone to know that the progressive schools, they have the highest number of total schools in the state. The demonstration schools have about, across the state, we have about 180 demonstration schools with a total pupil population of over 150,000. So 188 schools contain 150,000 pupils. And then the middle school level schools, there are about 340 something of those, and they have a total pupil population of about 82,000. And then the progressive schools, we have over 346 of them, and they have a total pupil population of 30 to 33,000. So from the point of view of educational financing, you find that it's very expensive for government to these progressive schools. But we are not going to close them down because a lot of them are in communities that are far apart. And because the learners are very young, you don't expect them to trek far distances. So because we are not going to close them down, we had to now find a way to provide quality education to these children, but at reasonable cost. Right now, we have Edobes in even our riverine communities, in Ajoki, in Nikoroga, and to get to some of these communities, 2 hours by boat, you have to pass Cocoa in Delta State. So you can take Edobes to these places. Is it to Ronugbe or Igobazuwa that we are not going to have Edobes? So when people say that we don't have Edobes in these schools, I want to say that they don't know what they're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. Also, I know you are itching to come in. Something struck me just now when you were, talking. You made mention of a reasonable cost. Some of us are very concerned about the education of our children, because the children, they are the future of Edo State. And if we have a large number of quite a large number of children not in school, the future of Edo State is a problem. Madam, I probably want you to open it a bit, what you mean by reasonable cost, because right now the level of poverty in Edo State is really much. A lot of children are not going to school right now because they cannot afford what some of us may consider reasonable cost. And would you kindly just answer that and tie it to a matter that is living, that is disturbing everybody, that people are talking about, and that is the issue of Ekiadolo. What is happening to Ekiadolo? Ma. Over to you, ma. Can you hear me? Honorable Commissioner, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, we can hear you. Yeah. Did you get the question?
Hello?
The questions I asked.
Hello?
Hello.
I did, yes.
Okay.
the cost of education, I want to say that basic education is free. So from kindergarten to JSS3, it's free. It's free and it's compulsory. There's a 2004 Universal Basic Education Act that supports this. And so at the basic level, government is doing all it can to support our learners. In fact, at some point, in collaboration with the federal government, school feeding was also introduced in selected communities that particularly had very high poverty indexes. So we are doing what we can to provide education. It's currently free. It's really bad. And you find that even the so-called, the ones that we consider not to be in the high socioeconomic level are sending their children to private schools. And so for us as a state and as a people, we need to have that conversation about what we want to do with senior secondary education. It's not, by law, it's not supposed to be free. Right now, students are not paying tuition, and government is struggling to provide the right kind of infrastructure and resources. And meanwhile, even though it's free, the parents are still being taxed. I mean, the kids are asked to bring money, and then those monies, get spent for other things. So we have to look at the secondary level how we want to really finance it in a more sustainable way. On the issue of Ekiado law, I'm quite sure what specifically you want to know about that school, but I'm happy to announce that Ekiado law is now a federal college of education. So it will focus on training teachers who will teach technical and vocational, teaching our technical and vocational schools across the country. So that's a real big win for Edo State. I don't know if you have other specific questions about Ekiado law.
No, I think you've done justice to it, madam. I actually wanted you to talk about Ekiado law because we've been getting a lot of talk about Ekiado law being shut down. We're going to start taking questions from the public shortly. Ekiado law being shut down, and that Governor Baseke is responsible for that, and that this and that is not happening in Ekiado law, and so many things here and there. And so I just thought you should clarify what the situation with Ekiado law is, so that the world can get to hear.
I think thank you. Ekiado law was not done by Governor Baseki. In fact, Governor Baseki rescued the situation. Ekiado law was shut down by the previous administration and converted to a university on paper. So it was a university on paper and nothing else. And the governor came in, looked at the books, saw that it wasn't going to be viable to have yet another tertiary institution. And so he lobbied the federal government. And so the federal government agreed to bring a federal technical college for the South region to Edo State. And so it made sense to repurpose that location, Ekiado law, and give it to the federal government to site a federal college of education. And I'm happy to announce that the federal government is ready to kick off. And in fact, the executive secretary of the National Council of Colleges of Education, which is the body that oversees colleges of education in the country, visited a little over a week ago, and they are ready to take over the school and begin operations immediately. And that would mean that of all the 6 or 7 colleges of education that was approved in 2020, Ecuador will be the first one to take off. The others are still at the very beginning stages. So as a result of the push of His Excellency Governor Obaseki and the support he has given, the intentional support he has given to the federal government, Ecuador is going to be taking off much more quicker than the other federal colleges of education.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. So, viewers, if you are watching, please, we now open the lines. You can start calling in now so that we start, taking a question. Okay, I think we've got a call immediately. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Can you just tell us your name and where you are calling from?
Okay, I'm Dr. Saimeri Ukumbo. I'm calling from Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates.
Go ahead, sir. We can hear you.
Yeah, I'm really quite appreciate this opportunity to be interacting with the Honorable Commissioner. Thank you very much, Madam. I think this is probably the first time, as I can recall, that those are able to have direct interaction with the Commissioner, particularly those of us in diaspora, so that we'll also be able to know exactly what's going on compared to what we hear, and be able to also put forward our expectations for the government. Now, I have two questions. I heard from the grapevine, I don't know how true, that the Benin Technical College, which I have seen to be a modern technical college by the start of facilities available, that it appears those are not actually taking into it. I hear that most of the applicants are mostly from other states apart from Edo. I don't know how far that is true. You can clarify that. Okay, if whatever the case is, if it is true, and Edo people really are aware of the capacity, the status of that technical college currently, we all know that in Edo, as in most of Nigeria, technical education has been relegated so poorly that artisans are poorly trained. You give them what they can't do anything because they didn't have proper technical education. So that's on that side. My second question. Most of the primary schools we have in, at least in Benin, where I schooled, were built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and the earliest, the last in the 80s. These schools have no water supply, no toilets. Where some of them existed in the time we used to have public taps were running, the public tap system has since collapsed more than 20 years ago. Have the state provided water supply to public schools as by way of enhancing health in public schools, particularly primary schools? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller. Dr. Saimeri Ukumbo. Yes, over to you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Dr. Kumbowa. For Benin Tech, I wouldn't know because I don't have the data on the students and their origin, where they come from. But I do know, coincidentally, and this goes back to your suggestion earlier from Lamte that I should make unscheduled visits to our schools. I was actually on Tuesday, I believe, this past Tuesday, I was at Benin Technical College to see the progress of the work being done there. And I have to tell you, I got to the school and I encountered a catering class in session, and I was blown away to see these young girls all neatly dressed in their white aprons baking. And I felt very happy to see that something is going on. And at Benin Technical, there is a lot of equipment that have been recently purchased by the state government that are going to be put in use: woodworking, carpentry. In CVET, in Edo State, we are actually shifting the paradigm. We are moving away from looking at CVET as a skills acquisition for poverty eradication, and so that we are focusing on things like what do you call it, mobile phone repairs. There's nothing wrong with mobile phone repairs, but nobody became a billionaire by repairing mobile phones at a very micro and uncoordinated level. So our focus right now in Edo State, as it relates to TVET, is wealth creation and using our TVET schools to expand the local economy, particularly the surrounding economy. And so the governor has approved the establishment of 15 additional TVET schools across Edo State. Right now, we have 5. One at Ego, which is it used to be Benin Technical College. It's now Government Science and Technical College in Ego local government area. We have one at Eguaholo in Uwonde local government area. We have one in Afuze in Owan East local government area. One at Ira in Eastern Central local government area, and one at in Akoko Igara at Igara in Akoko Edo local government area. And so at the moment we are restructuring these TVET schools so that the one in Benin, for instance, we want to have, in addition to auto mechanic, carpentry, or they call it joinery and woodworking, we want to include, since we have baking and catering there, we also want to now include event planning, interior decor, because it's in an urban area. In fact, right now at Benin Technical, we are about to begin the process of building a multi-million naira kitchen, courtesy of a grant from the World Bank, in recognition of the efforts that the governor has made in education reform. And so I think, to answer your question more specifically, we are a government, and so we can't turn anybody away. So it behooves the various communities, it behooves the people, to those of you that have a bit of enlightenment, it's now your responsibility to enlighten your people, to sensitize them and let them know what is going on in their community. I'll use myself as an example. My local government of origin is Uwonde. I started an initiative this year. Well, I started it last year, but I just became serious with it this year. It's called Uwonde First. The idea is that I've now made a commitment, myself and other people from Uwonde, to say at least once a month, we have to go home, go to Uwonde and sensitize our people, because we are a rural local government area and many of them don't even know what's going on in Benin. And so we all have to, particularly those from Edo South, because it's well noted that the Benin interland is vastly underdeveloped. And you cannot expect government is in charge of 18 local government areas. So government will do its bit, but the people also have to take on the responsibility of enlightening their people and making sure that they are taking advantage of various government opportunities out there. And finally, on the issue of amenities, you are right that we still have schools that don't have water and toilet, but it's not many. A lot of investment resources have been put towards providing amenities in our primary schools in the last 3 years. Over, I would say, at a very conservative estimate, over 2,000 classrooms have been renovated, which translates to more than 400 schools. And water is always the first thing. Water and converting the pit latrines to water system. Even in our large schools, in our demonstration schools, we are now even doing fencing under the Safe School Initiative. In light of what is going on in other parts of the country, we want to ensure that when our kids are in school, they are safe.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Commissioner. We have another caller has been calling. Yes, hello. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good evening, sir. My name is James Etiusa, so I'm calling from Sweden.
James Etiusa, go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Madam, Honorable Commissioner. I want to thank you for this, great privilege in our meet and honoring this kind of a meeting with every one of us. So I want to ask my question. My question is this. When it comes to planning and policy implementation in any administration, database is the key when it comes to planning and achieving anything. Now, may I ask this question? Next year, how many children in those states will be starting their school? So that you will tell us the figure, and at the same time, tell us the plan you have for them. Because if you cannot plan for what you're going to solve next year when it comes to school or education, I don't think one can achieve much. So I want you to elaborate about how is the government able to plan for the beginners for the following year? And that is my first question.
Mr. James Etiosa, we will just take one question, please. Well, we have a lot of people trying to call. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Because what I asked the question is that
because of
schools are run because the database was neglected.
Yeah, because of time, I think the commissioner has gotten your question right. So we can take more questions. Thank you very much for your call. Over to you, Commissioner.
Thank you so much, Mr. Etionsa. You are perfectly right. I would say give me another year and a half and I'll be able to answer your question. The reason is that right now, it's not just only in the education sector that key data is lacking. It's sector-wide. It's across the state. And that is why currently the government is pursuing a very aggressive technology program to have identification for all citizens of the state or residents of the state. And so for us, I mentioned earlier that we are going to be working in closer synergy with the Ministry of Health. If we have data on births, right? If every birth in Edo State is recorded, if every immunization of infants is recorded, then we'll be able to go to whether the Ministry of Health or the Bureau of Statistics to say, okay, we know that by law, a child is supposed to start school at age 5. How many 5-year-olds do we have in Edo State by local government, broken down by local government? Then we'll be able to plan. We don't yet have that data, but I'll tell you the data we have that is going to help us to further strengthen our education system, particularly as it relates to pre-service teacher training. And these are, when you say pre-service teacher training, these are students in the colleges of education. So as a result of the revamping, I don't know if people know this, in 2020, a law was passed establishing the Edo State College of Education with 3 campuses. The main campus is at Igwebe, and it will focus on teaching, training teachers to teach at the secondary level and technical and vocational. There is the Abudu campus, which will train teachers on basic education. Across from the Abudu campus is a smart school currently under construction. It's a massive edifice. And because of the work we've done so far in education, the Korean government, through KOICA, has adopted that school. They are going to furnish it with interactive smart boards. They are going to train the teachers, take some of them to Korea even to Seoul, to train them more. And then finally, the 3rd campus is at Afuze, focusing on special education as well as physical and health education. Before now, in Edo State, there was no specialization in early childhood education, which is key, and none in special education. So anybody that wanted to specialize in special education had to go to Oyo State. And that's the only school in the whole of southern Nigeria. So we are already on the move to reform, to reposition teacher training, not only in Edo State, but across Nigeria and in the West African sub-region. So quickly on data. So with the data we have collected at the basic level, we are now going to be able to go to SUBEB, who manages basic education, can now go to Abudu campus and say, Abudu, in 3 years, we know that we are going to have this number of vacancies. Based on the data we are collecting, that we now have on when teachers were employed and when they are supposed to be exiting service. So based on that data, Abuju academic advisors will then be able to advise their incoming students on the specializations that they need to focus on, because that's what will give them a job. The goal in all of this is that by the time somebody is graduating with their teaching certificate, by the next academic section, they should have a job. They should have been posted into a classroom, into a school, and be teaching. The same thing at the secondary level, particularly as it relates to subject matter specialty. So from data we have now, we can tell you in 5 years how many mathematics teachers we need to hire. Right now, I mentioned earlier, even from the application we have, out of 12,000, we only have about 509 applicants for mathematics. And that's way less than the number of vacancies. And we know that those 509 probably is them that we are even going to consider qualified to teach mathematics at the senior secondary level. So this introducing education into the work that we are doing is all going to help us to have data. In basic schools, right now, we know when they leave, we know how much time they are spending on teaching per period, how much time they are spending previewing the lessons beforehand. And this has really helped us to bring back sanity into basic education. And we plan to do the same in senior secondary education. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, just before you come in, Dr. Agbons, we have the callers been waiting. Please, what's your name and where you calling from? Please confine your question to just 90 seconds, and it has to be one question. And hopefully, the Honorable Commissioner would, because we have a lot of questions that will come in, will equally, answer the questions as concise as possible. Yeah, go ahead, sir. Your name and where you're calling from?
Good evening. My name is Moses. I'm calling from the UK. Good evening, Your Honorable Commissioner. I just want to make a request. I'm from Ego local government. Can we please have a technical college in Ego local government?
Can you say that again?
I am from
I
Ego
got the
local government
question.
in Edo State.
Oh,
So I'm just
You very quickly, you already
college in Ego local.
okay, so got it. Thank you very much. Over to you, ma'am.
very quickly, you already have a technical college in Ego. It is called Government Science and Technical College. It used to be known as Benin Technical College, off of Medical Stores Road. It's in Ego.
Over to you, Dr. Agbons.
Yeah, if that call keeps coming, I just want to read some questions from our YouTube and Facebook handles. Commissioner, there's a lot of questions here. This one, I'll start from this very positive one. This is Isokene Higie. This person says, my boy is in primary 1 in Egba Primary School, Ikpobaoka. He started reading when he was in ECCDE 3. Edo Best is the best. So that one is thumbs up. That is very good. And then I have Ebenove Godwin and Divine Greatness. Both of them said the recruitment going on is the rural areas, are they going to be part of getting teachers? I'm just paraphrasing the question from these two gentlemen. Honorable Commissioner.
Yes. In fact, the recruitment is done through the Edo Star Teaching Fellows Program, and we have actually made it compulsory that people should apply to schools in the communities of their origin. The idea is to address once and for all the issue of transfer of teachers. Many teachers in the urban areas don't want to go to rural areas, and understandably so. They don't want to uproot their families. So to deal with that once and for all, the current recruitment we are particularly targeting. I mean, that's why the recruitment is going to be ongoing. We've met with community leaders. We've asked those who said they hired community teachers when government was not forthcoming. We've asked them to submit the names, and that's why it's a 3-year fellowship. It allows us to take them with potential and then really polish them and get them, train them to the point where they are ready to teach in the 21st century classroom. And I want to quickly round up by saying, when people say that there are no teachers in school, it's important to note that the last time teachers were recruited in Edo State was in 2008. That's over 14 years ago. So we are trying to fill the gap now, but not just fill it haphazardly, but we want to do it in a very methodological way so that once and for all, we can put our education system on good footing.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. We have another caller who is waiting. Yes, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Yes, good evening, comrade and friends.
Good evening, sir.
I'm coming from Italy.
Go ahead, sir. Try to speak louder, please.
Yeah, Madam Commissioner, first of all, I want to thank you for all your efforts, and particularly Governor too, for all he has been doing for the state. My concern is this. I'm from Ronigbe community, a old student of Ronigbe Grammar School. For some time, we've not been having teachers in that school. But we, the old students, we're taking it upon ourselves to recruit teachers, to be paying them, make that salary. We'll be happy if the commissioner or the state government will take this burden from us and work these teachers into the state government staff, so that we can channel our resources to other things for the school too.
Absolutely. I mean, we've done it for all the communities. I'm surprised that I don't know. I'm surprised to hear this actually, because in Uronigbe there is the education secretary who manages the primary schools, public primary schools, and GSS at Uronigbe. I mean, in the Oviawe local government. And then there is the chief inspector of education who manages the secondary school in Oviawe local government. So between those two people, they ought to have submitted the names of these community teachers for us to include them in the database of those we are recruiting. But I've made a note to myself. As soon as I end this call, I'm going to ask them to contact the community, if they've not done so, to get the names of these community teachers.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. Austin, I thought you had something to say just now. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you so much, the Comrade Show, and for Honorable Commissioner. I think this is really refreshing, arising from comments on our YouTube handles and everybody singing praise of our commissioner today. In the course of your introduction, you mentioned something about gender. I'll be asking questions on that later on. But I can see you are a true bred diasporan and you are contributing immensely. It is often said that a school is as great as its alumni. I know that there are so many alumni groups that want to come to the state to help. Is there a plan from the ministry in conjunction with principals or head of schools on how to galvanize these many alumni that want to come and help in school development, especially on the area of infrastructure?
Thank you so much. Yes. In fact, the ministry, we're in the process of putting together a website, and we want to make the website very interactive, make it a one-stop shop for information. As a matter of fact, my vision, in line with His Excellency's vision, is really to automate a lot of the processes of the Ministry of Education. So we have fewer staff, and a lot of what people need is within the convenience of their homes. They just go online and they get it. And so we certainly have a plan to better engage our alumni groups. Thankfully, a lot of them are very interested in doing one or two things for their alma mater. All we are asking for is a plea. Even as there are lots of good intentions, there are also some misplaced intentions. We don't want a situation where anybody can just come into our schools and start building. In fact, in some of our schools right now, We have buildings sited right in the middle of the field. So what are we going to do? Tear it down or what? Even as we are trying to encourage giving, we want to ensure that it's done in a structured manner. So the appeal is the government, the administration of Governor Obaseki is not the typical. And certainly the Ministry of Education is not. If you send us a request within 48 hours, we will respond. We are not going to ask you to give us the money to do the work. You will still do it. But we need to give you our specifications. We need to know your timeline. We don't want some people will come and say, we want to raise $10 million and do this and do that. When is it going to take you to raise the $10 million? So we don't want to build power in the sky. We want to deal with people who really know what they want. And it's not open-ended, the intervention, and that the intervention is time-bound. So for us, it's very important. When we came on board, in one classroom, you will find 4 different designs of furniture. Some will be one single seater, some will be double seater, some will be 3-seater, some will be plastic, some will be iron, some will be wood. And so you look at a class, it looks so haphazard, so unappealing. I mean, those of us in education, we know that there is what is called the known and the unknown curriculum. And so what message are we sending to our learners if they come into a classroom that is so without any pattern, so disorganized? So to avoid such things, we've even had people donate plastic chairs to ECCD classes. And you're just like, what are they supposed to do with this? When they sit down, their feet is dangling. There is no blood circulation. How are they going to learn? So it's an appeal because for those in the diaspora in particular, you live in very organized countries. So come to do an intervention does not mean that somehow we let go of those standards that we are used to in our countries of residence and then think we can just come home and do whatever we like. And so we want to work with alumni. We want to work with individual and corporate philanthropists. That we want to do it in an intentional manner and in an organized and coordinated manner. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Commissioner, for that swift answer. While we are waiting for more calls, I don't know if the committee will allow me to chip in more questions.
But before you come on, let me quickly give room for Dr. Agbons. He's got some questions from social media handles.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Comrade Lamptey. This question is from Chichi Kemnacho. She's a school preparator, and her question is this, Honorable Commissioner. He said, "Why will they pay 80K for them to come inspect school?" That is how she has sent this question. So, Honorable Commissioner, I think these are your officials who go to inspect private schools, because this is a private school owner.
Thank you. I wouldn't know the specifics of that, but I would certainly, if Comrade Show, if you can pass on my contacts to this person, I will certainly look into it and get back to you. I do know that when a private school applies for approval, the ministry sends people, quality assurance officers, to go and check the infrastructure and all that. Where the 80,000 is coming from, I don't know. If the 80,000 is paid as cash to individuals, then certainly that is money that is not coming to government. Because what I do know is that all fees by private school proprietors are paid into the government IGRO account. So if he paid to an individual, then it's not a legitimate fee set by government. And if they want to send to me privately the name of the person they paid to, that will even be more fantastic. Then we can take it up with that person.
Honorable Commissioner, sir. Sorry, Dr. Agbos. Just as a follow-up, is there any arrangement in place by the Ministry of Education for inspectors to charge any amount of money for inspection at private schools?
Sorry, could you say that again?
I was asking if there's any arrangement in place under your ministry for these inspectors to charge any kind of amount of money from private school owners when they are going on inspection.
That's why I said earlier, no. Usually they inspect and then they come back, they make their recommendation. When a school has been approved, based on the number of students they have, they are then assessed under which category, under which tax bracket they fall under. So that's why I said, if anybody is asking you for money, cash, know that that is a nefarious request. And so please let me know who such people, such persons are. In fact, I'll give my number. I have one phone. Everybody has my phone number, 081 2006 9077. 081 2006 9077. Please don't call me. I likely won't pick because I'm busy. However, send me a message via WhatsApp or a text message and I will surely call you back.
Thank you, Honorable Commissioner. This is from Facebook, one of our viewers, Osage Egbinosun. He says, if Edo language is in the curriculum, do we have enough teachers to teach Edo language in schools?
No, we don't. In fact, it's even when I was in Subeb, I visited a school and I visited a school in Ikobaoka and it happened to be during Edo language period. And to my surprise, the teacher could not read the Edo language. And so even the way we teach Edo language, I believe we need to overhaul that curriculum. I made an attempt as Subeb chairman to engage with some experts in the field, but it didn't really go anywhere. I'm hoping that under the renewed focus on education reform, that we'll be able to find those experts in Edo language, because there are other language groups in the state who are also desirous to have their mother tongue taught in the schools as well. And so we certainly need to look at it, how we can do a better job and also how we can train our teachers. I'll give you out of 12,000 plus people that applied in the recent recruitment, I think we have about 30 applications for Edo language teachers, 30.
That's quite low.
It's quite low, yeah. Over to you, Austin. You were on your feet.
Yeah, my honorable commissioner, on many occasions you've blown me apart and you've just done that again. I must commend you. Not many government officials will willingly just give their mobile number to the public space. This is a true testament of your commitment. I say kudos to you for that. I will follow it up with my question. In the course of intro, reading your CV, you are a specialist in gender issues, and you happen to be a woman as well. You agree with me that in our climes, they always say that women should not be educated, especially girls. But you know that they are the fulcrum of our society. A well-educated girl child is absolutely good and will bring more prosperity. Under your watch in your ministry, what are you doing to see that narrative change? And secondly, there is a class and group of people, the disabled. What are we doing to help them, especially stemming from basic education? Disability should not be a big problem. Rather, we should see ability in disability. Can you speak to that, please?
Thank you. I'll take the special education issue first. And I have to say, like I always tell people, in the education sector, we don't have breaking news. What we have is breaking problem. Every day, every minute, every hour, there's something going wrong somewhere. And so the level of wrath we met on ground has been quite massive and overwhelming. But thankfully, we have a governor that has not just the political will, but the vision to do the right thing. And so I say all of this to say that so far, we have not given the requisite attention I would like to see on special education. But that will change soon. in special, we are also keen to bring in skills acquisition. I worry, if we must tell ourselves the truth, I worry that our special education subsector really needs to be revamped and repositioned. I see a lot of indiscipline there among some of our teachers, and this desire, and if care is not taken, we are going to be educating the next generation of children with special needs to become beggars instead of training them to be self-sufficient. So we work closely with NAVID. There are various associations for the differently abled people, and we are working with them to to also make them mentors. In my ministry, for instance, the director of science and technical department is a visually impaired man. He's been visually impaired all his life, Dr. Sawaro. And when he speaks, my goodness, you know, his eloquence is even better than many of us, right? And he went through our basic school. When I was in Subeb also, I noticed that there was a man, is hearing impaired and visually impaired, who was always in the compound, in the government secretariat. Every day he came and he was watching cars and people would give him whatever they want. And then it just occurred to me, why don't we give him a job? So we wrote to His Excellency and immediately gave him a job. And so I thought, since we couldn't communicate, I invited a teacher from our special schools. You know, we have our special schools that have specialty, and sent for her and asked her to sign language to this person so that we could communicate. And she told me that, oh, he couldn't sign. I said, I don't understand. Did you not teach him? He was your pupil. And then, so basically, the outcome of that interaction was really because the teacher did not do her job well. We had that young man who went through our special education school, who did not learn how to sign. But he's still very hardworking. He's been at his job now for more than going to 2 years, you know, but he cannot sign. And so it's very important for me, for us, for His Excellency, that our special needs children don't get the short end of the stick. And because special education, even though my background is in education, special education is not my area of expertise. So I'm very willing and open to learn. So anybody listening to me now who has something to offer in the area of special education, please reach out. I do want to use this opportunity, if it's okay, to acknowledge the diasporan women. There are a bunch of diasporan women, I think from North America and Europe, who did some training for virtually through Zoom over a period of a few weeks for our teachers. So we want to see many more experts in special education come and support us. In the area of girl child, fortunately for us in Edo State, at the primary school level, there is a near gender parity between boys and girls. So the number of boys and the number of girls, the percentage of boys and girls in our primary schools is almost equal. So we don't really have as much of a problem in girl child education as we do in other parts of the country. However, I'm told that when you get to the secondary school level, the gap starts to widen. So you start seeing more boys in schools and more girls dropping out. And the more girls dropping out phenomena is also tied statistically to the high rate of human trafficking that we used to have in Edo State. So you can rest assured that as a female, as a very grounded woman, womanist, I'm very particular about this. And as we seek to reposition our senior secondary education system, I'm going to be paying particular attention to where our girls are. Friday was International Day of Women and Girls in the Sciences, and the Ministry of Science and Technology hosted a forum with female students from our public schools. I went, and I was so happy to see these well-dressed young women, young girls, looking so sharp and eager to learn, and they are not afraid they didn't have a phobia for mathematics or sciences. So there is hope. There is hope.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Commissioner. I just want to lump
Dr. Agmos, go ahead, sir.
two questions in one. Honorable Commissioner, what are your plans to, reinvigorate public school education inspection? Because growing up, I remember in secondary school, you see inspectors just coming in unannounced. They come in. Sometimes they also come announced, but there were a lot of unannounced visits. So, what plans do you have for that? Then, tied to this question is from Dr. Osayo Okungbawa. He said, how are private schools being inspected and monitored in Edo State so as to ensure quality? Because we have a lot of private schools all over the place.
Thank you. For school inspection is key. Although we call it now quality assurance, and we plan to, as part of the ongoing reform under Edo Best 2.0, we are moving a lot of the responsibilities for managing senior secondary school to the post-basic education board. There is actually a post-basic education board that hasn't been doing as much as they should. So we are repositioning that board. In fact, at the national level, the National Secondary School Commission, the counterpart funding for basics, they want to extend it to secondary school. They push something to basic school, and their secondary schools are dilapidated. So for us, we are taking this additional funding potential. It hasn't happened yet. Additional potential funding spare our post-basic to do a better job of monitoring our schools. So we are going to, in the coming weeks, we are going to be internally recruiting for quality assurance officers, and then we are going to put them through rigorous training. In fact, once they are selected and they are awarded, they are going to train the sector. Our training 8 to 5 p.m. They are being taught old school evaluation, exam entries together. We want them to have eyes, things that we see. There are details that we notice. Things from the lesson note, from timetables. Like I visited impromptu unannounced. I went to Edo Boys secondary, formerly at the law college. At the timetable, I noticed that even though which was last period, the because during the period when I quickly took note of that, flagged of education for that local government. So I can do, because with the action that is taking place in our schools, we are not going to go. Quality assurance is at the non-tertiary level. Even we are set units that will quality assure the curriculum, the syllabi of faculty members, the quality of the assignments, the reading, the resources. We are in 2022. In our tertiary institutions, we have no excuse telling students to be reading articles and books 20, 30 years ago. They are, except they are not, they shouldn't. So for private, that's a very, very strong area of focus for Mr. Governor. As far as it's concerned, really, there's really no demarcation between public and private schools. He just wants us to provide quality education for all the learners in Edo State. And so we are going to be paying a lot of attention. In Edo State right now, you have the conventional private schools. You have what they call the low fee private schools, the low fee and so on and so forth. And we also have private schools that are not registered. So a lot of that is also as a result of a failure in governance. And so hopefully with the ongoing reform and restructuring of the Ministry of Education, we are going to be more awake to our responsibilities.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. It's been an exciting moment with you. I know that time is fast spent. That definitely, given all the time in the world, from the work you are doing, we cannot, exhaust the time. However, we are going to draw the curtain right around here. But I just want to ask you, Ma, given all you've been saying, it's been, so much work we can imagine. On a very light note, how do you unwind?
Well, I I don't want to get myself into trouble now because I tend to be very honest and open. I don't know what people would now use against me, but I unwind. Retail therapy is one way to unwind. Hanging out with friends and gossiping, of course, spend time with family is also another way to unwind. Every once in a while, I do Netflix. I binge on good Nigerian movies. And then I would love to be able to say that I read. I find that I really don't, it's very difficult to find time to read. In my home library, there's a lot of books I'm yet to read. But so I just, music is another one. And just hanging out with very positive people, friends, it's always helps me. And above all, of course, God, even though I wish I have more for my religious life, but I try as much as possible to always remember that I can't do anything without God who strengthens me. And
Thank you very much.
yeah,
Thank you so much.
and not taking this too seriously, and trying to have fun with. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Agbons, your last word before we round off with this section of it.
Yeah, I think for the commissioner, I want to say that she's very cerebral. She knows her onions. Fortunately, we are in the same constituency. I'm an educationist myself. And she's ticked all the boxes for me. She's using the right language. She has the data, the figures. Madam, well done. Hopefully, when we call on you again, we hope you will oblige us. Thank you so much for coming to our show.
I'm sure she gets that. Yes. Coming from our sister.
Always. Thank you. And you will have me back because we didn't really talk on higher education.
Oh, definitely we would. We would. Yeah. Yes. Over to you, Austin Remira. Just your last word before we let Madam go.
Well, I just want to thank Madam Commissioner. I don't want to be very repetitive. I've heaped praise on her where necessary. But I think two things I take from her today. I think you are very dedicated and your humility is absolutely humbling. Keep pushing the narrative and make sure before you leave as commissioner, you took Edo State to where we never expect it. Quite different from where you met it. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Honorable Commissioner, before we let you go, I just want to, I want to hear this. We're just going to say this to the general public. Tomorrow is 14th day of February, and the whole world is, getting ready for the usual St. Valentine. However, that narrative is changing now because so many Edo people are now pushing the narrative of Queen Eden. So for many of us, tomorrow is going to be Queen Eden's Day. I don't know if this has gone to your stable yet, But if it's just getting to you, how do you receive this? We're having Queen Eden's Day tomorrow, a great day tomorrow for very many Edo people who are already key into this narrative. You want to say a word about this? I know it's not under your
Yes,
jurisdiction, but are you an Edo
yes,
woman? You can reflect on this.
I am, and I have actually I've heard about this initiative to make February 14th Queen Eden Day, and I also know or I've heard some feminists um, question that because for them it's like, why does it always have to be the woman that sacrifices her dignity? So that's not my view, but I'm just throwing that in there. But yes, I think it's fantastic on the face of it. It's another way to promote culture and to also promote the wonderful women that have been a part and parcel of our illustrious history as Edo people. So happy Queen Eden's Day in advance to everybody.
Thank you very much, man. Happy Queen Eden's Day to you and to all Edo people across the world. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we've been having a very good chat with the Honorable Commissioner for Education, Dr. Joan Oviawe. You definitely will confess to her that she's a woman who knows what she's doing, and she's helping change the narrative as far as education is concerned. And of course, with the likes of her working with the governor of Edo State, we can only be very proud and believing that Edo State is in a very, very good hand. In that, talking of the governor of Edo State and of course those working with the governor of Edo State. This is the Comrade Show media chat. Next week, the 20th, Sunday the 20th of February, same time, 6 p.m. Nigerian time, we're going to be hosting the lead of Edo Jobs. And that's talking of Ukinebo Dare. She's going to be telling us all about Edo Jobs and the impact Edo Jobs is making, in this whole narrative of making Edo great again under the governor of Edo State. Ukinebo Dare is the managing director, Edo State Skills Development Agency. And she's going to be here with us next week, just like we've had the Commissioner for Education, and so we're going to continue. This is leadership meeting with followership, as far as Edo State is concerned, so that we can all be part of the process, hear from those who are leading us, those who are governing Edo State, and of course, ask the right questions, get the right response, and of course, make the right suggestions when necessary, so that Edo can actually move ahead on our collective account as a people. Dr. Agbons, we're having Ukinebo Dare next week. How do you respond to that, sir?
Thank you very much, Comrade. It promises to be another exciting session with the MD of Edo Jobs. I think that's the popular acronym we call it. So, viewers, make it a date with us next week as we have another, top Edo State key official with us on this platform. She will be here, so get all your questions ready. Phone in, come and ask your questions. Don't sit on the fence. We are all major stakeholders in the development of our beloved Edo State.
Yes, Comrade Pharmacist Austin Iremiran, your word on this.
Nothing much to say, just to say thank you, Comrade Show, for this initiative. Edo State is on the march again. All Edolites across the world, I encourage you to keep a date with us next Sunday as we interface with the Madam DG of Edo Jobs.
So, viewers, this has been the Comrade Show, and this is the Comrade and Friends. We'll see you next week, Sunday, same time. Please keep a date with us. It's the Comrade Show. If you are not yet following the Comrade Show on Facebook, and of course, you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, do so, because we are bridging a gap. God bless you, and bye for now.
Hey, Comrade Show, Comrade Lante Oriake, live on Facebook and YouTube. Like us, follow us, and be the first to know. Peace.